right, and then we had our first traditional Survivor Series match, which is basically Raw versus SmackDown these days. And on the Raw team, we had Bobby Lashley, Austin Theory, who I'm going to talk a wee bit about. I'm actually a bit of a fan. I think he could be. I think he could be the next John Cena.
Yep.
That's a big call, I know, but I do like him. Finn Balor, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins. So 5 good workers against King Xavier Woods, Jeff Hardy, Sheamus, Happy Corbin, and Drew McIntyre. So again, two very good teams as individual competitors. But Mick, I know you've got a wee bit to say about this particular one. I thought overall there was some very good pace in the match. There were plenty of action. There were some very nice spots. I love the part where Lashley and McIntyre sort of got into it a bit and sort of kept that one going. The Austin Theory drop kick, I think, was just brilliant. Reminded me very much of a jumping Jim Brunzell, or even Dolph, who throws a pretty good one, or did. But there were a few things, you sort of think, oh, the whole Kevin Owens walking out straight away, leaving his team one person down right at the start. I don't know.
Yeah, look.
Is that the way you really want to start it?
No, not really. And look, the whole setup is wrong.
Yeah.
And Anthony will jump in on this in a minute too.
Yes,
right? The whole setup is wrong. The traditionally Survivor Series, right, was about ending feuds. It's another way of ending feuds, right? As soon as you put a Survivor Series match together, that there's no real feuds, and the feuds seem to be more internal than external. Right? It's not the idea. It's about a bunch of guys banding together against another bunch of guys banding together to settle differences between the two teams, whether it be a tag team and 3 singles guys, whatever it is, and they settle their differences on that night at Survivor Series. And the one that's left last, that team wins, and and the victory goes to them. Right? The way they're doing it now is they just throw 5 generic guys from one side, 5 generic guys from the other. There's no real interest on an emotional level in the match. It's just you're going to see 10 great talented workers get in there and work, but there's no one to really hate for or like. And they're losing the most important things in a match. When you're telling the story, you've got to have a real bad guy, you've got to have a real good guy. And these matches does not have a real bad guy and a real good guy, because you got faces mixed with heels. So who do you go? Most people can't hate Jeff Hardy, but I tell you now, that Happy Corbin, I hate him, and I don't even know the guy. I just don't like him. He's a heel, right? So you're mixing up your talent, and it makes it very. And afterwards, the fan just looks and goes, "Oh well, I'll just watch it for the spectacle. Or I'll go and get a sandwich," or and there's no emotional involvement. See, with the opener, emotional involvement. If you're a Lynch fan or if you're a Flair fan, you've got an emotional investment in this. You're like, well, that bitch Lynch or that bitch friggin' Wall Flair, Yeah,
this had something.
Yeah, and that's the problem. What do you reckon, Anthony?
When they started the brand split, and then practically Survivor Series has turned into... Do you guys remember the old pay-per-view they did in the early 2010s, bragging rights?
Yeah.
That's essentially what Survivor Series is. There's no, let's not forget, too, they threw the teams for both matches together like a week.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's no emotional investment.
There was no build-up. I think that the problem, Anthony, in previous Survivor Series, when there was just the one brand, you basically did have the goodies versus the baddies. But because of the 2 brands, they're trying to do it as a Raw versus SmackDown. But yeah, as Mike says, there's no real buy-in from that point. Look, the match itself was good. I gave it one of the highest ratings I've ever given a match. But as you said, it was really just a 5-on-5 match.
Yeah, they could still do that. They could have individual company Survivor Series matches like the SmackDown and then the Raw. And if you really wanted to, you can make it mixed. Not that the girls get in with the guys, but you could have had Flair and Lynch on one side. They have to be tagged in to go at each other.
Actually,
So
interesting.
It's not that insane to do, but they try. The booking sometimes of WWE always confuses me because they don't think of the fan. They think we've got these guys that throw them in there. It's almost like watching indie booking at times.
Yes.
It's like indie booking on a big scale. Oh, he's my mate. Let's throw them in the ring and we'll have a match. You know, so it is. It's something that if they want to move forward with their product and move forward with WWE in any way, shape, or form, whoever's controlling this needs to look at that seriously.
Sorry.
Technically, the match was great.
Oh, absolutely.
Wasn't big on Owens leaving on that side of it.
No, that was
right. That's almost like he took his ball and went home. Which that might have been what they were trying to produce from the character.
Yeah, they're trying to put him over as a bad heel now. Like,
but you know, I mean, how can you in watching that match, you could not honestly say that those guys weren't great. They were great, but it's like watching acrobats. There's no emotional content. Yeah,
no, it was an extremely good. I mean, there was a wee bit of heat with a couple like the Lashley and Drew McIntyre. They've had
heat.
To a lesser extent, Austin Theory and Jeff Hardy have had a bit. Seth Rollins,
Seth has lost his way. Still the most athletically gifted guy, one of the most athletic guys, but I don't know how they booked him. It's lost his way.
I mean, he ended up being the sole survivor and winning the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I don't want to say it's a hollow victory because it sounds like you're just looking for negatives and taking away from it. But I mean, look, I scored them. I have never on any of our reviews scored a match as 9. I actually gave it a 9.
I went 6.
Okay, I gave it a 9.
I couldn't get into it.
I gave it a 9 just for the actual match.
Oh, look, match technically, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we're reviewing is the match, but we're looking into it a bit deeper. So if I was to go on your premise and what you're saying, you'd probably go 6 or 7 for the but. As just as a wrestling match, 5-on-5, and the way it was done, and the caliber of the people in there, I must say I actually quite liked it, and I actually did give it a 9. The crowd got right into it because I did notice a few times then the crowd really got in, and if you've got the Brooklyn crowd going, "This is awesome" and stuff,
I don't know. That's come out a little bit recently that a lot of that is dubbed over too.
Oh, that could well be.
That's you don't know exactly because they reckon that WWE is an absolute master at it.
Look, I wouldn't doubt it.
I'll use the phone technique of reviewing a match. If I'm sitting there and my phone is in my left hand and I have an urge while the match is on to flick through the phone, right, that means it's not keeping my attention.
Yeah, true.
And that's what I found with this match because there was no reason for me. Where the Lynch match and Flair, the phone was in the kitchen. It was gone. It wasn't even in sight. But look, these are some of the best workers in the world. It's not what they've done in the ring. It's the lead up to it. It's yourself. You've written a lot of program over your time in wrestling.
Yeah.
Right behind the scenes, you've written a lot of program. You and Gino wrote a lot of stuff. And things don't happen in 1 month's time. Even if you've got all that TV, you've got to build it over a few months. And they're trying to build feuds and end things in a month.
Yeah.
That's why I call WWE McDonald's wrestling. It's quick, processed, and gone. And it's sad that's how it is because they've got all this great talent. That I think if you gave them the opportunity to work a longer program with each other and the stuff that they could put on, be absolutely amazing with their athletic abilities and that kind of thing. And I think what lets them down now is not them, it's the booking. It's the way it's run. Yeah.
Just very quickly, I'd be interested in both your opinions quickly on one of the competitors in the match who, in one respect, I was surprised was in it, but in another I'm not. But that Austin Theory, because when he was in NXT, he was sort of the clown prince, he was, not that you didn't take him seriously, he's got a brilliant build on him, he's a good-looking kid, he can work. But since he's come up to the main roster, he's had a more serious approach. There's something about him, and I don't know exactly what it is, but I really like it.
He's incredibly talented.
Yeah.
And that, like, because he was on the main roster, he had one run before he went back to NXT.
Did he? I don't remember, but okay.
It was like a throwaway thing with Rollins, pretty much. It meant nothing, but
okay.
And that, like, he, like, I would have used the flip into the drop kick through the flip through the ropes into the drop kick, right? As my main example here. Who else can do that? Who else has the ability to jump through the middle rope and also hit a picture perfect drop kick in practically one motion?
No, look, I think he reminds me in some respects of a very, very raw, green John Cena. Or am I stretching myself here?
No, you're not actually. You're actually underplaying him.
Oh.
You're underplaying him. Just watching what I've seen him do in recent NXT, and that his wrestling IQ is very high. He's a very intelligent guy in the ring, right? He understands what he needs to do, when he needs to do it, and how to get there when he's telling the story in the ring. So his athletic ability is well and truly above Cena. Cena was never that agile on his best day. You know, at times when you watch him work, you can see bits and pieces of. I reckon the guys he would have studied would have been like Kurt Hennig. He would have studied. Probably AJ Styles by the acrobatics and the athletic ability. Right, his selling does remind you a little bit of Kurt Hennig. So I would say potentially he could be better than Cena.
Okay, that's a bit cool, but yeah. But you know, I mean, you train guys, you work with them, you know what you're looking at too.
Cena was never physically that great. It was his personality. So this is where if Austin Theory falls short, will be on personality and the ability to sell himself. Right, but there's three major parts to a pro wrestler.
Yes,
right. It's in-ring ability, promo, and then how he's selling himself in the ring, getting over. Right now, Cena had a great promo, could sell himself unbelievable in the ring, make it, get people behind him, but was never physically that great as a wrestler. He wasn't no Bret Hart.
No, that's true.
Right. Or Kurt Hennig, or the list goes on and on, right? But he had those two things. This kid could have all three. This kid could be the perfect storm. My only thing is who's he going to work with?
Well, yeah.
That's when you're looking at the rest of the card, you're saying to yourself, well, and I'm not an AEW fan, but I'm going to revert back to AEW here, right? If Austin Theory was an AEW and he's got Punk there, he's got Danielson there, he's got friggin' Omega there. He's got there's talk of Bray Wyatt going in there. Not sure, it's rumors. Just those guys there working with him. For him to get to Roman Reigns at the moment is a far stretch. So I think they're talking about him having a match against Big E, aren't they?
Yeah, if he won that, what was it? Did they give him a match because he owned up to stealing the egg?
Something like that.
Yeah,
right. So Big E, no offense, but Big E ain't no Bret Hart.
Nah.
Right. Great. I'm loving where he's going with all of this, where he's moving forward to, but he ain't no Bret Hart. Right. And to get into ring with, I don't think they have anyone anymore other than Rollins, maybe Owens, right? That could get in the ring with this kid, and they put really 5-star matches on to suit his style. Drew McIntyre's another possibility. Leslie's a power guy, so he's going to get thrown around like crazy. You're not going to be allowed to do too much of his athletics. I'd love to see him against Rey Mysterio before Rey Mysterio pulls his boots up. Imagine the match those two could do together.
I think you'll find that will come because they've already had a little bit of a to-do with them. So
if he has MJF's ability to talk, with the physical ability that he has, and he gets, even as a heel, gets great heat, gets over as a heel or a face, but gets over, Yeah, the sky's the limit for that kid.
But you know better than anyone, like with the young ones like that, it is a confidence thing from the talking point. So once his confidence is up and he's really believing in himself more, that can develop. That's something you can actually teach.
You can develop and work it. Yeah, and I don't know how much time he's had. You know, they need to put a mic in his hand, and the other problem with WWE is that everything they tell him what to do, everything is stripped.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, you need to let that person freestyle. If he can talk, let him freestyle. Don't tell him what to say. Give him the topic and the start and the beginning, and say go. Well, because it looks believable.
Well, John Moxley in the last few weeks, before he went into his rehab, and that was saying the one thing he hated the most was they were never allowed to freestyle speak. And they would sometimes get 3 pages, and it was demanded that they go out and present this promo word for word that's 3 pages long.
Yeah.
How do you remember that?
Not only that,
you're more on the bloody words than their own actual physical ability.
You do it without feeling when you get out there. That's why all their promos are flat.
Yeah.
And unbelievable, because they're not believing in what they're saying.
No.
Now, you know yourself, the best way to do a good promo is you need to believe it while you're saying it. Absolutely. And it needs to be in your words.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, whenever we did them, and look, on the local scene, I mean, I would have interviewed hundreds and hundreds. And if there was a particular message you wanted to get out, it was a bit like a match. You gave them the finish, but you let them talk in their own words.
That's exactly right. That's what you need to do, because it's got to come out of that performance, out of that wrestler. I don't want to use the word performer. Out of that wrestler's mouth, as he would say it or she would say it. It's got to come out like that.
Do you remember a couple of times we've discussed it when we reviewed WrestleMania, how they had that gap because of the storms and that, and they were scrambling big time, and they just got everyone to do a promo, but it wasn't scripted. They were some of the best promos I had seen. I was sitting there watching, thinking, why aren't you doing this every week? There was a bit of passion in it. There was something in it, you know. And they were bloody good. They need to go back and review that 15 minutes of footage, and they could fix their promo section straight away.
Yeah, that's how you're selling the match, isn't it? Yeah. It's on the promos. You know, you put your promo up now in today's day and age. We've got multimedia. We put our promo up online. You know, it's about selling the match to people that want to potentially come and buy your product. If that's flat, it's what, and you're not believing in it. So how is the going to be believing it? It's exactly right. So,
all right. So I actually, as I said, scored that one quite high, but you went a 6, did you?
I went a 6, not because of anything they did. The phone theory. I was watching the match, and I'm going, okay. I started looking over at the phone because and that's really, if you can keep me entertained for that 30 minutes, because they're long matches. It's on the walk-in.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
that kind of thing, right? If you can keep me entertained for that 30 minutes, I'll give you a 10, 100%. If you can't keep me entertained for that whole 30 or 20 minutes, then you're not going to get a 10. But no, great. Look, you can't, with the talent that's there, you can't have a bad match. It's pretty bloody hard.
What did you give it?
I gave it a 7.
Okay. Yeah, good.